Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Let's go ahead and get started with the latest crypto news. So, first up, we have from Ripple. They said, deepening our push into capital markets, we are investing in Xylo and Liquido to add regulated transfer agency issuance and collateral mobility to our capital markets infrastructure built on the XRPL. This comes on the heels of Aviva Investors tokenizing its US dollar liquidity. And what's interesting is that we have Monica Long, who is the president of Ripple. She ended up responding to this. This has gotten a lot of attention. In the last year, we've seen the veritable light switch flip from bank pilots to production, from issuing tokenized assets like money market funds and liquidity funds to using them. Institutional capital markets are moving in one direction, on chain 24/7. At Ripple, our goal remains to provide the full stack of digital asset infrastructure, allowing institutional participants to take advantage of the entire lifecycle of a tokenized asset on the XRP ledger. And so, following up with this, we have from Bird. They chimed in their thoughts. Monica just said the XRP and Ripple switch has already flipped. She called it a veritable light switch flip. Veritable means real, genuine, and unmistakable. In other words, she's saying the change is not gradual or theoretical anymore. It's a clear, decisive shift. We're no longer talking about riddles, pilots, or proofs of concept. Institutions are moving into production and actively using tokenized assets. Ripple is building the infrastructure for that future on the XRP ledger, connecting issuance, transfer agency, collateral mobility, settlement, and liquidity into a single institutional network. This is exactly what XRP holders have been waiting for. The conversation is shifting from will blockchain be adopted to how quickly can institutions deploy it. The question is not if this happens anymore, it's how fast. That's really exciting. From Evernorth, January 2025, about $73 million of tokenized real world assets on the XRP ledger. This is per rwa.xyz. December 2025, you're looking at approximately $900 million. And today, it's about $4.3 billion. Spot XRP ETFs have taken in roughly $1.5 billion since launching in November 2025 per SoSo Value. That's the number that has been making headlines. The tokenization number is nearly 3 times larger. And from VET, order of operations. Look, number one, tokenize assets on the XRP ledger. Number two, create use cases based on settlement, lending, liquidity, and trading 24/7. Number three, XRP used as bridge asset via auto bridging. The more tokenized assets and usage of those assets, the more XRP can act as the bridge asset for the long tail of assets. And some other news, this is very important to keep an eye on. So, an update, Japan stock market is in huge trouble. Retail margin trading in Japan reached a 36-year high. Last time the leverage was this high, the Japanese stock market crashed 80% and did not hit a new all-time high for 34 years. Now, obviously, 34 years is a very long time. For people to lose 80% of their savings that they have in the stock market in a pretty short amount of time would be absolutely devastating. For some people, it would force them to go back and work one job, two jobs, possibly, especially with how things have just happened with inflation. Because let's be real, it's not like it used to be. So it's a very real, very serious concern that's happening right now. And if you think that this would not affect markets outside of Asia, you're pretty crazy, because more than likely Japan would start selling things like United States bonds, and that would also affect the US dollar. And then in turn, we're going to see impacts on the other markets in the United States as well. So let's go ahead and continue on with more news. A little bit light at the end of the tunnel here. Asian markets explode. South Korea's Kospi has gone up 4.55%, adding 250 trillion, was that one, in market value. Japan's Nike 225, that's up 2.98%. Adding 32 trillion yen, $210 billion in market value. And something to keep in mind, people are pretty optimistic today as far as what's going on between the United States and Iran. So there might be a bit of a resolution happening. We've heard this song and dance plenty of times, but we'll see if anything actually comes of it today. And XRP Ledger RWA holder count jumps 25% as Ripple ramps up tokenization. Canary clients buy $1.15 million worth of XRP. So a very sizable buy right there. Rakuten launches tokenized Japanese stocks on the XRP ledger. With everything that's happening with the Japanese stock market, it's going to be interesting to see how things play out over on the XRP ledger with this. And as far as the Clarity Act goes, from Senator Bill Hagerty, it's time for a vote past Clarity. So yeah, we're running out of time. We are now about 72 hours or so left until this recess is looking to come up. So I am heavily leaning towards the idea that the Clarity Act is not going to be passed in time. I think that it is going to get passed eventually, but we're going to have to wait more than likely a few more months. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below on that. Tokenized Amazon stock also now live on the XRP ledger. We're seeing more and more stocks being pushed over to the XRP ledger, which is, I think, a very interesting approach. I'm hoping that it's a good thing, but the more obviously that we see being pushed onto the XRP ledger that comes from stock markets, the more potential there is to get people involved. XRP holders can now borrow RLUSD on Ethereum without selling. Flare Network, FXRP, has been approved as collateral in Centaura's RLUSD vault on Morpho, letting XRP holders convert to FXRP bridge to Ethereum and borrow Ripple's stablecoin while keeping their XRP exposure intact. The setup mirrors what Wrapped Bitcoin did for Bitcoin and DeFi, and the teams call it the first time an XRP-based asset has cleared an institutionally curated Ethereum lending vault. Flare CEO Hugo Filion says having an institutional risk team underwrite XRP as collateral beats another bridge listing. One of crypto's largest assets has spent years sitting idle. Plugging it into on-chain credit is how that changes. Chicago-based InvestNet Asset Management just filed their 13F with the SEC. They manage about $347 billion across 4,500 holdings for financial advisors nationwide. Buried in the filing, you're looking at 186,346 shares of the Bitwise XRP ETF, fresh as of today. And are we back? Well, yeah, the institutions, they never left. Some of them might, but overall, we're still seeing massive money involved with XRP. Xife Crypto, XRP whales are pulling coins off Binance and not looking back. Wallets moving over 1 million XRP now make up 55.3% of all Binance outflows. Biggest players are grabbing bags and walking away from exchanges. Exchange supply ratio already crushed to 0.03. Less XRP available to sell equals less resistance on the way up. And XRP is coiling and whales know something. It's good to see a lot of it going off of exchanges. A lot of people have been a bit suspicious of activity that happens on Binance. So seeing coins being pulled off of one of the biggest crypto exchanges, I believe it's actually the biggest, also means that there's less likelihood of people selling. The East is moving. Japan's financial takeover just went live on XRPL. We have Rakuten just launched tokenized Japanese stocks. While the West argues over regulation, Japan is quietly moving real stocks on XRPL. So again, really nice to hear this information, this news. The walls around XRPL keep coming down. The XRP Ledger and XRPL EVM sidechain are now live on Axelar, unlocking seamless cross-chain transfers for assets including XRP, Wrapped Ethereum, Wrapped Bitcoin, tokenized treasuries, and more. This is bullish because interoperability drives adoption. More liquidity, more developers, more users, more institutional access, more utility. The future is every blockchain connected to the XRPL and becoming part of the global liquidity network. And there's an ongoing scam wave against XRP holders. Read this twice. From Xamen Wallet, they say that they will never DM you, will never email you, will never issue a token or an airdrop. Their support exists only inside Xamen, nowhere else. Anyone claiming to be us is after your funds, no exception. So please be careful, guys. Now let's go and look at what's going on with the movement for XRP's price. We have yet another day of backwards movement. All right, so the last 2 days have closed out red. We are in a position right now where we're matching the price levels back on July 28th. And look at this, just like 3 days run up, drop, further drop, came up, next day ran up, then 3 days drop. So it's almost a mirror of what we had here in the last week or so. But as it is right now, volume is looking pretty decent for the timing of when I'm recording this video on the day. So it might be a pretty considerable amount. I would suspect that we might end up with more volume than yesterday. It looks like most of the transactions are leaning towards the sell side. If things do react positively with the news between Iran and the United States for the day, potentially we'll see this bounce and start to come back up. But as it is right now, we're below the VWAP. That's not great. Below the median line of the Bollinger Band, not great. The Bollinger Band itself is very, very tight. So a lot of expectations that we'll see some volatility here, maybe in the next week or so, very likely in the next week, either going down or up. If it goes down, really want to keep an eye on a dollar. Below a dollar, we're looking at 86.5 cents. If it goes up, let's try to get above $1.13. That's halfway on the Fibonacci retracement zone, and then try to make its way up to $1.40. All right, just my opinion, not a financial advisor. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a great day. Thank you for everybody for your support. God bless. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.